you think of U2, what comes to mind? Maybe some of these numbers might help. More about that a little bit later on. The band themselves have been around for over 40 years, and they have defied and defined rock and roll, a little bit like the Rolling Stones, Johnny Cash perhaps, or Levi's, authentic relevance. And they've strived time and time again to remain authentic, to remain interesting, and to remain relevant. How can we connect the success of the band to effective teams? Well, that's just what today is all about. But let's take a step back first of all. Why have a team in the first place? Why bother with a team? Why put so much into the dynamic of a team? And the reasons people will often cite will be flexibility or synergy or adaptability. And how do you best use a team? Well, to help solve a new problem or an existing one, provide some fresh thinking. Or maybe there's the problem is so large it needs quite a few people to make contributions in terms of a solution to the problem. Now, like every team, there can be challenges and there can be regression. How do you address regression? Well, could be a situation where you need to link the team performance to the bonus. Or it could be an idea to just give encouragement each step of the way, incremental steps if you like, and that's the essence of good leadership. But if a patient is not responding in terms of regression, you can use keyhole surgery or perhaps go under the knife. Keyhole surgery could be something like, I'll tell your mother. No, only joking. Often it's a case of just saying, come on, don't let the team down. We need you. But failing that, perhaps going under the knife is the next big thing. And you've got to do that. You've got to reset the dial. But always with a team and a team dynamic and building dynamic winning teams, the Holy Grail, of course, is always around ensuring that each member assumes responsibility for their part in what gets accomplished. That's really important. I'm going to say that again. The Holy Grail of team effectiveness is that each member assumes responsibility for their part in what gets accomplished. Kind of shared thinking and collective responsibility. All right, let's get back to the band, the U2, the group themselves. We put up some numbers. What are they all about? Well, 22 Grammys, in excess of 145 million albums sold, live ticket sales for concerts worth in excess of $736 million, and they've been around for 40 years. So, sustainable, if you like, band model or business model. The long-time collaborator in terms of production, sound production, was a guy called Brian Eno, and he talked about a record, and he said a record is usually the result of a small, tightly knit team working in close contact and with a continuity of attention. Now, like any good team, the band themselves have had their challenges, anything from financial to burnout to excesses to divorces and so forth. They've had their challenges, but their achievements really far outweigh what they've experienced in terms of bumps in the road. And success is never a straight line. It's always a sequence of events, a kind of an S-shaped curve very often. But I think one thing that has helped the band enormously in terms of sustainability is the 4 band members themselves. And when I explore each member in terms of personality, I begin to think that personality is often a function of young insights in terms of whether they're introverted, extroverted, thinking types, feeling types, sensing or intuitive types. And Carl Jung was all about that in terms of understanding personalities. I honestly believe, just through my lens, that each of the band members are different in terms of personalities, and I think that's been fundamental in the success of the band. I would see Bono as more of an extroverted feeling type. Insights, colours, language, which we often use to categorise personalities, I would say he's probably a yellow personality. Get me involved would be a key modus operandi for him. The Edge, the guitarist, I think is also extroverted, but more of a thinking type. Be bright, be brief, be gone in terms of insights, colour, so a red type personality. Clayton, the bass player, possibly green, introverted, feeling type. Show me you care. With Larry Mullen, the drummer, possibly blue in terms of introverted thinking type. Give me the information, grounded, let me think things through. But the trick really with personalities, as we all know, is about whether they respect and encourage each other. That's really key. It's not necessarily what colour preference you are, but whether that is intact. If we expand the team out a little bit and we go through the colour wheel, not just in terms of 4 colours, but perhaps 8 colours, we can look at a particular graphic here, which you can see represents all the different attitudinal preferences that can be brought to the table by the wider team. And I honestly believe the wider team, when we look at it, have been around for quite a long time. So if you think about perhaps graphic design and photography, they've used the same guys time and time again. Anton Corbin for photography, graphic design, Sean McGrath and Steve Averill. And if we think in terms of live performance, they've used a lot of the same people with stage and sound, the likes of Joe Hurley, Dennis Sheehan, Mark Fisher, Willie Williams. Also as well in terms of management, Paul McGuinness around for a long time and more recently Live Nation. In terms of sound and production of albums, they've used similar guys since the off. Steve Lillywhite, Brian Eno, Daniel Lanois, and their engineers often been Flood. So their wider team certainly brings a lot to the table and is very much intact. And that has led in no small part to the success of the band and the sustainability of the band. I'd like to reference as well an extraordinary insight from a guy called Lencioni, who's an American author on team effectiveness. And he said that team is a function of a number of different pillars. And some of those pillars I think we can reference as well in terms of the group themselves. One is building trust. The second one, of course, is focusing on results. The third one, according to Lencioni, was managing conflict or mastering conflict and achieving commitment. Number 4, and finally the other pillar, of course, is embracing accountability. And he basically was of the view that for a team to be sustainable and to be dynamic and to be high performing, essentially what they needed were those anchors down on a consistent basis over a certain period of time. And what I've done now is I'm just going to show very quickly some quotes from individual band members themselves, which reinforce this idea of the blue thread through the band from the off. So take a look at some of these quotes from each of the 4 band members. Lencioni also said that teamwork remains the one sustainable competitive advantage that's been largely untapped. How many bands have not survived 40 years and not been able to keep that momentum all the way through their career? Okay, so there's some insights on the band, and through my lens, purely through my lens, why they've been so successful. And I've used reference to Carl Jung's psychology in terms of personalities and Lencioni's fundamental pillars for building dynamic winning teams. If you'd like to learn more about our insights on the band themselves, or indeed would like some support in terms of building dynamic winning teams, we've got plenty of instruments at our disposal, the likes of Insights Colours, and indeed Human Synergistics is another high-end team building, as distinct from bonding initiative.